Today's lecture is titled Economic Security, Part 2. We came to you from the Moor Zion Trading Post in Part 1, talking and reading from the Moorish literature of that great prophet, noble Drew Ali. We came from Part 19, 1-9. Part 19 we read from, and he guided us and chided us and pushed us to preach economic security. In part 1, we talked about what economic security was. We gave a definition for it. And we also talked about economic power. In this part 2 of teaching, promoting, and preaching economic security, we're reading from the Moorish literature, number 28, or part 28, titled Our Dollars and Cents. And I want you to look at how he wrote cents. He says our dollars and cents. Now, cents in context of dollars and cents, or in context of money, is spelled C-E-N-T-S. In this instance, the great prophet, noble Drew Ali, he spelled it S-E-N-S-E, giving us a hint to some understanding, giving us a hint to some knowledge that we are to delve into. So as I introduce this subject, or reintroduce this subject of economic security to the Moors, for the Moors, by a Moor, that great prophet, noble Drew Ali. He reads in Our Dollars and Cents, he says, the doctrine of economic security is by no means as widespread and intensive among Americans of our group as the circumstances demand. And the more written and said on the subject, the better. Well, here we are, May 1st, 2022, Moors. Here we are in the midst of what they say pandemic or plandemic. Here we are, Moors, in a situation of high inflation, rising consumer prices. Here we are, Moors, in 2022, dealing with difficulty in supply chain, reshelving and restocking the shelves in the store. Here we are, Moors. I've asked the question in part 1, and I'll ask it again. Do we need the preaching of economic security, or have we solved this problem already? Because he says this is one of the greatest, no, he didn't say the greatest. He said this is the greatest thing that needs to be preached. We should go back and read that part 19 of the Moorish literature as we read from part 28, Our Dollars and Cents, S-E-N-S-E. He says the doctrine of economic security, a doctrine? What do you mean, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, a doctrine? What do you mean? What's that word? Let's clear that word up. Doctrine. A belief or set of beliefs held and taught by a church, political party, or other group. A doctrine, it says, is a belief or set of beliefs held and taught by a church, political party, or other group. A statement of fundamental government policy, especially in international relations. Are you with me? So this is a doctrine of economic security that great prophet, noble Drew Ali, wrote about, promoted, and talked about. He talks much about finance and the need for finance in his writings, in his documentation. We learn through the history of the Moorish Science Temple of America that there were great businesses, that there were grocery stores, that there were markets, that there were laundromats, that business was taking place. And he inspired his believers, the Moors, to be engaged in business and the building of economic power. I asked the question, is it how it is today, the same as it is then? Or have we solved that economic problem where our economic power is not an issue? The doctrine of economic security, he says, a belief or set of beliefs taught by a church. Are we teaching that today? By a political party or other group? A fundamental government policy? A doctrine? He says the doctrine of economic security, and economic security is the ability of people to meet their needs consistently. I ask you in this part 2, Moors, I ask you from Moor Zion Trading Post. I ask you, Moors, from our YouTube page, from our Instagram page, Moors, the doctrine of economic security, is it as widespread and intensive among Americans of our group today as it should be May 1st, 2022? I ask again, Moors, Moorish Americans, the doctrine of economic security, is it as widespread and intensive among Americans of our group as circumstances demand today, May 1st, 2022? Wishing you peace and blessings, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I'm your brother from another mother, coming to you live from the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Our dollars and cents, that great prophet, noble Jew Ali, teaching us about the doctrine of economic security. This is concluding part 2 of this short lecture series, asking a question to the Moors. Peace and blessings.